In the quiet, sterile hallways of St. Jude's Medical Center, a darkness was spreading, a secret so damning it threatened to shatter the very foundation of the institution. This isn't just a story of medical malpractice. It's a tale of a calculated, cold-blooded conspiracy where the people entrusted with saving lives chose to bury their mistakes, literally and figuratively. Welcome to the story of the St. Jude's cover-up, a place where a code red didn't just mean a medical emergency. It meant it was time to hide the evidence. Our story begins not with a bang, but with a whisper. A series of hushed conversations in the hospital cafeteria. A few concerned nurses sharing stories that just didn't add up. It started with patient 0, we'll call him Mr. Henderson. A routine surgery, a standard recovery, and then a sudden, inexplicable death. The official cause? A rare, unforeseen complication. Tragic, but these things happen. But then it happened again. And again. The same ward, the same pattern. A seemingly stable patient taking a sudden turn for the worse. The common thread wasn't a rare disease or a freak accident. It was a piece of equipment. A new line of ventilators, recently purchased by the hospital to cut costs. They were cheaper, yes, but they were also faulty. Alarms that should have blared remained silent. Oxygen levels that should have been stable fluctuated wildly. The nurses on the front line saw it. They reported it. They filled out incident forms. They pleaded with their supervisors. They warned that lives were at risk. But their reports vanished. Voicemails went unreturned. The faulty ventilators remained in use. Why? Because acknowledging the problem would mean acknowledging a catastrophic purchasing decision. It would mean lawsuits, a tarnished reputation, and a financial hit the hospital's administration was unwilling to take. So, a different kind of code was initiated. A code of silence. This is where the conspiracy truly takes root. It wasn't just negligence. It was an active, coordinated effort to conceal the truth. The hospital's risk management team, led by a man named Arthur Vance, became the architects of this deception. Their job wasn't to manage risk for the patients. It was to manage risk for the hospital's public image. They allegedly began altering medical records. Phrases like equipment malfunction were replaced with patient non-compliance. Timestamps on nursing notes were adjusted. The narrative was being rewritten in real time. Imagine the horror of the families. They were told their loved ones had passed from natural causes, that everything possible had been done. They grieved, never knowing the full story. They were handed death certificates that were, in essence, works of fiction. The hospital offered condolences and sometimes small, confidential settlements, but only in exchange for signing non-disclosure agreements, effectively buying their silence. But you can't silence everyone. One nurse, let's call her Sarah, couldn't live with the guilt. The faces of the patients haunted her. She had meticulously kept copies of her original reports, squirreling them away at home. She knew what was happening was wrong, a profound betrayal of the oath she took. But speaking out meant risking her career, her livelihood, and facing the wrath of a powerful institution. The turning point came with the death of a young mother of 2. Her case was so clear-cut, the ventilator's failure so obvious, that even the most creative record-keeping couldn't fully obscure it. Her husband, a determined engineer, refused to accept the hospital's vague explanations. He knew his wife was a fighter. He started asking questions, demanding records, and hitting the same brick wall that the nurses had. This is where our quest for justice begins. The husband's relentless pursuit of answers eventually led him to an investigative journalist, one who specialized in digging into institutional corruption. At first, the journalist was skeptical. Hospitals are trusted pillars of the community, but the husband's evidence, combined with an anonymous tip, was too compelling to ignore. The tip, of course, came from Sarah, the brave nurse. She contacted the journalist, her voice trembling, and agreed to meet in secret. In a dimly lit coffee shop, far from the hospital, she laid out the entire conspiracy. She provided her duplicate incident reports, names, dates, and the internal memos she'd managed to save. It was the smoking gun. The document showed a clear pattern: report of malfunction, followed by a patient's death, followed by a sanitized official record. Armed with this insider information, the journalist began to connect the dots. He found other families who had similar, tragic stories. He cross-referenced their experiences with the documents Sarah provided. The pieces fit together like a horrifying puzzle. The story was no longer about individual tragedies. It was about a systemic cover-up orchestrated from the top down. The hospital administration fought back with everything they had. They hired a high-powered PR firm to discredit the journalist and the grieving families. They issued statements calling the allegations baseless and malicious. They tried to paint Sarah as a disgruntled employee with a personal vendetta. The pressure was immense. Anonymous threats were made. Legal notices were sent. It was a classic case of David versus Goliath. But the truth has a way of coming out. The journalist published his explosive exposé. The story went viral. The headline, "Code Red Cover-Up," became a rallying cry. Public outrage was swift and furious. Protests erupted outside St. Jude's. The families, once isolated in their grief, were now united in their demand for justice. They stood on the steps of the hospital, holding pictures of their loved ones, their voices finally being heard. The local district attorney, facing immense public pressure, had no choice but to launch a full-scale criminal investigation. The hospital was raided. Computers were seized. Files were confiscated. The altered records were compared against the original Sarah had saved. The digital trail of the cover-up was undeniable. Emails between administrators discussing how to manage the narrative and mitigate legal exposure laid the conspiracy bare. The fallout was catastrophic for the hospital. The CEO, Arthur Vance, and several other key administrators were indicted on charges of fraud, reckless endangerment, and obstruction of justice. The hospital was hit with unprecedented fines and a tidal wave of civil lawsuits from the victims' families. Its reputation, which it had fought so desperately to protect, was left in ruins. In the end, St. Jude's was forced into a period of radical reform. New leadership was brought in. Whistleblower protection policies were strengthened, and an independent oversight committee was established. The faulty ventilators were immediately decommissioned, not just at St. Jude's, but across the country, as the investigation exposed the manufacturer's own negligence. This story serves as a chilling reminder that institutions, even those dedicated to healing, are run by fallible people. It highlights the immense courage it takes for one person to stand up against a powerful system and the critical role of a free press in holding that power to account. The families of the victims never got their loved ones back, but they got something else, the truth. And in their fight, they ensured that no other family would have to suffer the same fate, turning their personal tragedy into a legacy of change. The code red at St. Jude's is no longer a signal for a cover-up. It's a permanent stain, a warning that justice will always find a way. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into stories that matter. Stay curious and stay vigilant.